Hey folks, Jeff Poling here, CCR Realtors, with Mayor Sharetta Smith and Camilla today, talking about a few different things. First off, I want to talk a little bit about how does a small school like Perry Schools shape your outlook as far as future events, especially to help you out as being the mayor today.
Yeah, so, I grew up in an area of town in the city that was actually zoned for Perry schools. And so I've always been a city girl that attended township schools. So for me, my educational experiences, I attended Perry from kindergarten to third grade. Fourth, fifth, and sixth, I went to city schools, actually Lincoln Elementary, it
Okay.
used to be called. And then from seventh grade to graduating from high school, I was a Commodore again. And I talk a lot about what that experience, having, going to schools in the township, learn about, rural living compared to also living in the city, as well as the demographics at Perry local schools compared to what the demographics were in the city, i.e. in that I was one of few African American students that attended Perry schools. For me, and I'm not going to, paint a picture to say, there were no issues in terms of race, but I say one of the things that I feel like I was able to get a perspective from was being able to be friends with an individual at a young age before the world taught us that with me being black and them being white, that was supposed to make a difference. And so we were young enough to develop those friendships, develop those relationships to where we could really see each other from a human level. And I'm grateful, for that experience, and I think that is something that has carried my worldview really for all of my life.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, as far as with some of the cities that things are going on downtown, as far as city-led initiatives, can you kind of expound on that a little bit about what's going on downtown?
Well, as you can see, we have unprecedented, I feel like, at least in my lifetime, development happening in the downtown.
Right.
And I will say that a lot of it are projects that include both public and private investments. We robustly work with private entrepreneurs, sometimes on a daily basis, looking at building plans, looking at the need for infrastructure. I will say most recently, one of the catalysts for the most recent redevelopment has been the conversion of 43 Town Square, which was the old National Bank building, into housing. So that building, the city leveraged home dollars to bring in a developer to do a mixed-use development. So that property is a 47-unit property. 37 of those units are affordable housing, 10 of those are market rate.
Okay.
So, the individuals in there, they do hold a job, so it's not housing choice voucher properties.
Right.
They are designed specifically to be affordable housing units. And then I would say pretty much what followed up right after that was the Road State building. And with the Road State building, the city did work with private developers to aggregate some of the properties that was needed for that building. But one of the significant pieces of legislation that the city was able to do was commit hotel motel tax dollars to be able to pay for that development going forward. We're still in that commitment now. And even if you go up to right now with the Spring and Main building, and the development that is happening in Spring and Main, the development that is happening with the Central District, the city has, right now, we have about $1 million in infrastructure improvements on Spring and Main. We're scheduled to do an additional $4 million on infrastructure improvements on the Central Corridor. And that's not to even include all the staff time with reviewing the plans, with working with our legal department to make sure that there are adequate easements for right-of-way. And so there's nothing that happens in downtown that the city does not touch.
Wow.
It's very much public-private
Very,
partnership.
very involved, it sounds like, that's for sure. Now, as far as some future things that are happening, can you share with me some of the things that, I heard something about a pool and some other things that are happening. I'm kind of excited about that myself. So.
Yeah, so we are in the process of going to bid for construction of a new community aquatic center. As the community is already aware, you know, our Schoonover Pool, which was an old WPA project that has been in our community for 80, 90 years, has been out of commission since COVID. The city reached a point to where, you know, the cost of maintaining it, just in our opinion, did not make sense to continue to maintain the pool, especially when it was of a design that, you know, today's families are not particularly looking for when they look at aquatic recreation. And so we've been, you know, looking, we went through a full feasibility study, we went through a full community engagement strategy to rebuild a new pool. We just received estimates back about what that pool would cost to build. So we're roughly looking at about $9 million to build the pool. We do have commitments already for 8 of that. The city is committed to use an additional $1 million from ARPA funding that we received in order to construct. And then there's been a lot of talk about, well, you're going to build it, how you going to pay for it? And just to kind of summarize that, you know, without taking a lot of time, we're looking at roughly the cost to operate being $650,000 per year. And I will say that we have received commitments to be able to meet those costs.
Wow.
From community partners, at least until the first 5 years.
Okay.
And the reason why that is significant is that our long-term plan to operate the pool is to raise money for an endowment. And so with the approval of Lima City Council, we have entered into an agreement with a consulting firm to raise money for an endowment. We're looking at a $7 million goal for the endowment. And based on a previous feasibility study that we've had, we're already about 2.5 to 3 million of commitments to get to that 7. And so we're very optimistic that the gap financing is going to allow us to pay to operate the pool while we raise the endowment, and the endowment will allow us to have the pool into perpetuity, so that we don't put too much strain on the general fund to operate the pool. And we're looking at a pool that will have the ability to operate at least 9 out of 12 months of the year, that could be used for swim teams. There's a commitment from our local schools to do swim lessons for young people, to teach young people how to swim, prevent accidental drownings, and in addition to that, open recreation for swimming for community use as well.
Wow, that sounds exciting. That was definitely a lot. Now, I heard something else about floating solar panels or something like that. Can you expound on that just briefly as well?
Yes, so right now it takes us roughly $1 million per year to operate our water treatment plant through our electricity bills. And with the help of Senator Sherrod Brown, we were able to secure a $500,000 grant to put floating solar on Twin Lakes to power electricity for the plant.
Oh, wow.
So as a backup. And so it's both a environmental incentive for us, but it's also a financial incentive for us so that we can relieve the utility fund for the by paying for the generation of that power. We've entered into what's called a purchase power agreement.
Purchase power agreement.
Which is, again, is another example of public-private partnerships.
Okay.
To where the private company, they're building it, they're going to maintain it, they're going to operate it, and in turn, they will get the tax credits for that to be able to pay for it. And
wow.
so we're moving on that. We're at the design phase for that particular project, and so we're excited to see what cost savings we'll be able to realize from putting that floating solar on the Twin Lakes. We know we won't be able to completely rely on the solar grid, but we do hope that we can reduce that $1 million expenditure significantly, which will allow us to do more improvements in our neighborhoods in terms of what's needed for utilities.
That's really exciting. And the final thing I wanted to talk about a little bit as far as home ownership and stuff. And
I'm gonna let
Carmelia, maybe
Carmelia
you're going to talk
about
about that a
homeownership.
little more. What exactly is going on downtown for people that want to be home ownership? I know that's the American dream, and I'm quite excited about that. So if you can share
Well,
that with us.
the city of Lima, we have a down payment assistance program that they can get up to $14,999 to purchase in the city. So if once you get pre-approved through your bank, you can come to me and we can sit down and go over what you would need to do. It is because this money is grant funded money, and through HUD, we do have what we call income restrictions. So it is for folks that are in low to moderate income that are looking to get out of renting and want to purchase a home. So it's a great program. The interest rates are kind of high right now, and so there's when we sit down and talk with those folks, we want them to make sure that they have the highest credit rate. The better the credit rate, the better the interest rate, and then you'll be able to get into something that you can afford, and that you're going to be able to maintain and to stay in. And the reason we want to do it like that because we don't want our folks in foreclosure.
Right.
So again, it can be a little strict, but at the same time, it's definitely worth being that because we have the city has had this partnership with West Ohio Community Action Partnership for many years, and they've done the classes. And with our rating is about 96 in terms of folks that have stayed in their homes. And so it's a great program. Come and see me, call me, and I can tell you all about it. We also have one other thing. We also have a partnership with NACA that we're new partners with them, and they are the largest housing counseling organization through HUD, and so they don't base their criteria on your credit. They do base it on your ability to pay and a couple other things. So that's another program, and their interest rates are a point lower than the normal interest rates out there.
Oh,
so
really?
It is a process, but again, getting a home is a process.
Right.
And so we want people to be patient with themselves and just work the process, and so that you can get on the other end of what you want, which is home ownership.
Sounds wonderful. Well, it's been a great time to chit chat with you guys today, Mayor Smith and Carmelia. It's been, like I said, a wonderful time today, and really appreciate your time.